Lately on this channel, we have been talking lots about the possible defense pair kind of combinations we could potentially see for this upcoming season. And in today's video, we're going to take a look at a possible trade target for the Rangers, which could definitely be a pretty great addition to this already, I would say, kind of upgraded defense core from last season there on paper. From the beginning of last regular season up until now, I think with the way things stand right now, the defense core does look better, and especially with a guy like Carson Soucy and a new coaching staff coming in with a whole new system, I think some things will definitely turn out better than what they were last season there. This entire team, entire organization was in just a pretty terrible spot last season there. So many things went wrong, and I just do expect, especially defensively, this squad to be a whole lot better. And if they can go out there and pick up this player we're going to talk about in today's video, they might get a whole lot better as well. And that player is Ryan McDonagh, the former captain of the New York Rangers. And this is a player that I really do think, although yes, he may be getting up there in age and may not be in his prime at all, but I do think this is someone who definitely could play a pretty key role in the top four on that second pair for the Rangers and could be the exact kind of piece this team is missing to really take this defense core to a whole nother level. Because right now, I think on paper, when you look at things there, you're probably having for that top spot, Vladislav Gavrikov and Adam Fox alongside each other. But then you've got a pretty big question mark right now with that left spot on the second pair, because right now the top pair is pretty much locked in place, I think, with Gavrikov alongside Falk. That could be one of the top pairs in the entire NHL. I definitely want to see them be together. But for the second pair, on the right side, I have a feeling it's going to be Will Borgen. That's kind of just what I'm guessing as of right now. Definitely could be Schneider on the second pair on the right side, but as of right now, I'm guessing it's probably going to be Will Borgen. So in this scenario, your top pair is set with Gavrikov Fox. Your second pair is not, though, because you have Borgen probably set on that right side there, but on the left side, it's pretty much open. So if a trade doesn't happen, you probably have these three guys fighting for that second pair left side spot with, Braden Schneider, Carson Soucy, and Urho Vakanainen. But if a trade does happen where maybe they're picking up a Mario Ferraro, who I talked about not too long ago in a video, or maybe it's a Ryan McDonagh type, well, in that case, you're probably having to give up Carson Soucy in one of those trades there to make the money work, because right now the Rangers have, less than $1 million in current cap space available. So it's not like they can go out there and just kind of acquire one of these pretty quality kind of defensemen who have a decent sized cap hit. They can't just quite do that. So they definitely have to go out there in any type of trade they're looking to make from now on, pretty much, of any kind of player with a substantial kind of contract above league minimum, pretty much. They're going to have to more than likely give up a guy like Carson Soucy, because he still has one more year left with a cap hit of $3.25 million. So right now, the Rangers can pretty much, by shipping off Carson Soucy, including the cap space they have available right now, they're going to have about $4 million or so in cap space available with the current space right now and Soucy, going off the books. And also, in a trade, they can kind of throw in a guy maybe like a Juuso Parson, and if they feel comfortable enough with Mika Zibanejad or Johnny Brodzinski kind of taking that third line center spot, and they could obviously potentially offload a guy like Juuso, who's making about $1.5 million cap hit. So you can open up, about kind of $5.5 million or so in cap space, which would still require a bit of salary retention in a trade for someone like Ryan McDonagh. It wouldn't quite need, some in a trade for someone like Mario Ferraro, but if they want to go after someone like Ryan McDonagh, who we're talking about in today's video, and who I do think is a, still much better player as of right now than a guy like Mario Ferraro, you might have to give up, a few pieces there off your roster right now with Soucy and a guy like Parson, just because of their salaries to make the money work. So it definitely wouldn't be easy to get a deal done there, and I don't know how kind of likely a team like Tampa would be to really kind of retain some money, even though he does only have one more year left with a cap hit of $6.75 million. So a trade might not end up happening there. And, do they even want a guy like Carson Soucy? I have no idea, but I do think it does make some sense on why a team like Tampa, might want to try and cash in a little bit on a aging Ryan McDonagh there, who is an expiring contract, who, they could end up getting back, I think, some pretty solid value, and getting back a Carson Soucy for a team like Tampa, alongside maybe it being a Juuso Parson or something like that to make the money work, or if they were willing to retain quite a bit there, then they wouldn't have to throw in a guy like Juuso, so they could just take Soucy to kind of replace McDonagh there, And then you also be getting some other assets alongside that, which maybe it's like a pretty decent prospect or a solid draft pick. Like, I don't think it'd be anything too insane there, but it definitely wouldn't be like a kind of even like 5th round pick. It definitely has to be quite a bit more than that, I'd imagine, for Ryan McDonagh making that swap with Carson Soucy for him. But I don't think it would be something where the Rangers are having to give up like a future 1st round pick alongside Soucy, obviously, to get a guy like McDonagh. So I do think it could be a really smart trade for the Rangers. I do think this is a kind of clear upgrade over someone like Carson Soucy. I think McDonagh, yes, although he is getting towards his late kind of 30s now, he is still a very good top 4 caliber defenseman. So I think picking him up alongside already adding in a guy like Gavrikov and a Scott Morrow type, I really do think could be an incredible just kind of final addition there to really kind of bolster this entire defense core as a whole. And as of right now, the Tampa Bay Lightning also do only have 6 defensemen under contract. So I guess there is a scenario where maybe they pick up 2 defensemen from the Rangers in a trade there. If the Rangers feel pretty good about a guy like Matthew Robertson, maybe they're more than comfortable with chipping off a guy like Urho Vakanainen and Soucy. If Tampa were looking for 2 defensemen, I guess, back in return, I have no idea, but I'm just kind of talking about certain kind of trade scenarios that could work out to make the money work, which, like I said, unless they are retaining quite a bit of money, you definitely have to add in a guy like an Urho Vakanainen or a guy, of course, like a Yusuf Parston to make the money work, even alongside a guy like Soucy, as he only has a cap hit of 3.25, and McDonagh, like I said, is 6.75, so there is a pretty big difference there. So Tampa would definitely have to retain some money to help kind of facilitate this overall trade. And now let's take a look at an article here from the Hockey News where they go on to talk about the possible kind of shopping of Ryan McDonagh, I guess. And they go on to say, should the New York Rangers attempt to trade for Ryan McDonagh? According to Sportsnet's Nick Kyprios, McDonagh could possibly be on the move again just 1 year after being traded from the Nashville Predators to the Tampa Bay Lightning. Of course, that was not the first time he got traded to the Lightning there, as the Rangers originally shipped him off from the Rangers over to the Lightning there. Of course, way back when the Rangers were sending out that kind of rebuild letter, way before I had this channel up there as well. But point being, it does seem like, and it does make sense as well, that the Tampa Bay Lightning may be shopping someone like Ryan McDonagh. And like I said, it does make a lot of sense because they're a team that don't have, I would say, the overall necessarily kind of brightest future in the world. I think they're kind of lacking some picks and prospects in their system right now. So going out there and shipping off an aging player who's on the wrong side of 30 there, right? He's like 36 years old, Ryan McDonagh. He has an expiring contract. He's probably not someone who's going to stick around long-term in Tampa. I'd imagine they're probably looking to go in a different direction maybe. So I think them trying to cash in on someone who is still a top 4 caliber defenseman who can still play a solid role on a playoff caliber team on a second pair, I think, shipping off that guy, getting back maybe a Carson Soucy who can play probably a decent role on the 3rd pair for them possibly, move someone else up into that kind of top 4. And you also would be getting back a good pick or a good prospect, or maybe it's a solid pick and a solid prospect, right? You'd be able to get back some pretty good value. So I definitely think it does make a lot of sense there for Tampa to look to move this guy. And considering the Rangers did get back, a prospect like Scott Morrow, they got back a 1st and 2nd round pick, from that Keandre Miller trade. They made a bunch of other moves as well, shipping off Kreider, where they got back, a prospect there in Carey Terrence, and also moved up a bit in the draft. So they made lots of moves over the last since it started last regular season, really at picking up, prospects and picks. So I think for the most part there, the Rangers have done a pretty good job of kind of replenishing those assets. So moving off some of them for someone like Ryan McDonagh, although may be a rental, I still think it could be worth it. And with someone like Ryan McDonagh and him having that history with the Rangers there and him being a, yes, aging player, but at this point, I still think a solid bet, he could be someone that, it does make a lot of sense to kind of bring him back in a maybe more of a kind of 3rd pairing role, sign him to a 2 or 3 year deal, but bring him back on a low cap hit to be a kind of bottom pairing, just solid veteran defenseman who can be a solid defensive guy, bring a bit of offense here, but just be a solid kind of bottom pairing defensive possibly going forward for the next kind of couple of years after this upcoming season maybe, right? So I think there is a way to kind of bring McDonagh in here and not just have him be a rental. I think it would make a lot of sense as well to kind of keep him longer term. Obviously not a super long deal because, like I said, he is 36 years old. He's turning 37 not till next June, but he is getting up there in age. So it wouldn't be some massive long-term deal, but let's say next summer the Rangers kind of re-sign him hypothetically to a 2-year deal with a $2.5-3 million cap or something around there maybe. That wouldn't be too bad at all in my opinion. So I think adding in a guy like McDonagh there and re-signing him as well is a pretty smart potential move there if the Rangers can make something work there with Tampa, as I do think McDonagh is a true upgrade and maybe a pretty big one as well over someone like Carson Soucy. But anyways, thank you all so much for watching today's video. If you have enjoyed, definitely don't forget to comment down below your thoughts on today's video. Do you want to see the Rangers go after a guy like Ryan McDonagh and pick him up there to be a kind of upgrade for Carson Soucy? Do you want to see them go after someone else like a Mario Ferraro or a different defenseman? Do you want to see them kind of stick with the way things are right now? What do you want the defense pairs to look like? I'll catch you in the next one, and let's go Rangers.